everybody. This is Steph The Educator, and I'm here with Essential Pedagogy Podcast, and I want to just welcome you back. It's seems like it's been forever since I had a birthday. The holidays came and went, and I just want to get my feet back in the water again. My hope with this podcast is, as a result of you listening to this podcast, that all people within our profession of education and outsiders, grow in compassion for one another, by getting an inside view of the public education system in America. So, without further ado, I'm so excited to be interviewing a gentleman that I met not too long ago that wrote a wonderful book called What Today's Parents Must Know About Today's Classroom. His name is Mr. Kendrick Sterling, and he has 23 years of experience in education. How you doing, Mr. Sterling?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
There, baby, can't you see?
Got our music back on. Okay. All right. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. So how are you?
I'm doing great. Glad to be on the show. Excited to share the information and, just ready to go.
That's good. So we talked. Thank you for doing so good. Thank you. We've talked before, and we talked about your book and what inspired you to write the book, and what you hope comes forth because of the book, and about your big efforts of the book. So talk to me about a little bit about your 23 years of experience. Tell me about, how you started in teaching. Did you always teach elementary? Because that's what you're teaching now, right?
Yes, and I have always done elementary. I don't know. I think we are designed for different levels in education. Like my younger brother teaches high school, and I couldn't see myself in that setting, and he couldn't see himself in elementary. So I think we're all kind of made and designed for certain areas to deal with a certain child. And for me, it was elementary school. I was studying at Houston Baptist and doing some soul searching like we all do in college, trying to make sure that we can figure out what it is we're supposed to be doing with all this time, effort, and money that we put into it. And I remember a professor asking me to take a course after we kind of got personal with one another and had some real talks. And it had something to do with assisting some middle school children. And I was like, okay, let me just go check it out. I was really doing some soul searching at the time. And when I saw that I had a positive effect on these children, it lit a fire in me, and I was ready to continue that effort. And like you say, here I am now, 20 years later. It feels like 5 years or 10 years sometimes, but I'm just grateful that I've had the opportunity to work with children and have a positive, effect in their lives. It's been amazing.
Well, when we met, I was just so excited to meet a Black man who was in the classroom and excited about teaching and excited about touching young minds. And it seems like you've been a role model for children for a long time. So talk to me more about that.
I guess when you say role model, that it's something I've strived to be, but like I always tell the students, your parents, your grandparents, that family tree that you have, those are the people who are going to be there with you the most. Mr. Sterling gets literally 181 days a year with these students, and I try to do what I can to impart what I think is going to be important for them to know as they grow up and go to different levels in all the subjects. I'm grateful enough to be able to teach all subjects. I'm self-contained, and we stress the importance of reading. We try to make them understand that it should be something that's enjoyable as opposed to painful. So I believe that over the years, through professional development and other things that I've studied, I've been able to find things that are really effective, and my children get excited about learning. We do a lot of cooperative learning groups and things like that that we'll discuss here shortly, I'm sure. But just allowing them to come together and support one another and give feedback to one another, it changes the dynamic of the classroom as opposed to more of a teacher-centered classroom that a lot of us grew up in. We know now that we are in a student-centered classroom and we have to do a lot to accommodate all the different types of learners that we have, from audio to visual to kinesthetic to below level, on level, and you're going to have kids who are coming there above level. So we have to truly plan for a lot of different students. And I think in that, over the years, I've been able to come up with some techniques that I would love to help parents with, and also young educators who are looking for ways to make their work, smarter and not harder.
Absolutely. I've interviewed parents and talked with them about some good habits that they could foster at home in order to help their children to be more successful. And so I know that your book gives an inside view about what happens in the classroom so that their parents can help foster and ask good questions when it comes to going up a level
Right.
to the next grade level. Tell me more about what your book is saying to help parents understand the classroom better.
Well, we're trying to solidify that bridge, that connects the parent, the home, and the school. Um, I can imagine from talking to many parents over the years that they don't all have the greatest experiences when they talk about their schooling. And unfortunately, they remember a lot of the negative parts of their schooling. So I try to encourage them to know that their child is in a totally different setting. Um, there are essential things that we have to teach, of course, just as their parents learn. But the way that we teach these now, the methods that are involved, the movement, gallery walks, getting kids out of their seat, the use of technology, all of these things, really excite children when it comes to learning. And we're trying to help the parent understand that the number one way you can guarantee that that parent, or I'm sorry, that educator of record with your child is doing the most effective type of teaching is to know what we're using today. And unfortunately, if we're not having that constant communication and bridge between the parents and the school, they tend to think, okay, a lot of what's happening to my child is what happened when I was in school. But these techniques that we use are powerful. Again, they keep the children engaged, and my students, they love it. They enjoy school. They enjoy reading. They enjoy the games that we play that connect to their learning, and they go home and talk to their parents about it. And that's the type of classroom setting that I'm trying to help for children. Once they leave my classroom, will they still get those same types of activities? And if the parents are aware of what techniques are most effective, they can have a good conversation with the new teacher or the next teacher. And then that type of learning can continue, and then we can keep these kids excited about learning, as opposed to now I'm in a classroom where it's not as exciting. We're not doing the things that I did last year, and my interest level is starting to go down. And then you start to have the discipline problems and the classroom management issues. But in today's classroom, with the things that are available to us, I don't have issues with classroom management. My kids understand and respect one another. We also teach them the 7 habits of highly effective people. So they're understanding other techniques along with the emotional and social learning that goes into teaching the whole child, not just, preparing someone for a test.
Yeah, that makes a difference. Certainly that, and the relationship a teacher builds with a child too. I think that is paramount.
It's monumental. You can't teach without it.
Yeah. What are some of the techniques that you use to build relationships in your classroom?
Well, before we start to try to dive into any learning, we normally take a day or two just to find out student interest, what they do in their free time. What are the things you enjoy? As we learn about the TikTok and the YouTube generation and all the famous
Now it's
people.
Be Real. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, it's very real. Like we grew up on, ABC, NBC, and CBS. Those were the stations that we were aware. And it's a totally different world now. where they have access to learn what they want to learn, how they want to learn it, and have different types of, avenues that they can go and learn these things. Um, but yeah, it's a change. Like when I talk about the cover of my book, it shows an older classroom and a newer classroom, and
Go
that
ahead
was
and show the
something.
cover of your book, Mr. Sterling.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead and show the cover of your book.
Oh, let me see if I can pull this up without messing up everything over here, because I had to switch this over to my phone.
Okay.
But we were looking at, how do we get these parents to understand that, this is not the classroom of the past. We're standing on our desk. We're doing gallery walks. Your children are doing presentations. Um, they're literally having student-led conferences where the students are in charge of having a parent conference. They tell the parent what the weakness is and the action plan on how we're going to make that weakness a strength. We've totally revolutionized the classroom, and it just saddens me that all children aren't having these type of experiences in class.
Yeah. Yeah. Even at some of the high performing districts, they're not doing some of the things that I feel like is very important and that we do in our, our medium size
Yeah.
district. Like part of it is making goals. We teach the kids SMART goals.
Hmm.
You guys teach your kids SMART goals.
We do, and we also have what's called a personal wig, and we have what are called classroom wigs, and these are wildly important goals. So along with that, they definitely have to have what we call an action plan on how they're going to take what we call growth opportunities. We don't like to use the word weaknesses, and how we take these growth opportunities and turn them into strengths. So we're giving the educational practice and the ownership back to the child and back to the family. And we become more of a facilitator in the classroom to make sure that we're there to make sure that they're staying on course.
Yeah. We did get a question about what are SMART goals. I think SMART goals started like really in corporate America. I'm not certain. But I learned them years ago. It's acronym. Talks about goals being attainable, being relevant, measurable.
Right.
I think I might even have it in my binder. My goodness. Well, we're live, so sometimes like these things happen. Golly, I had a sample in my binder because
I think I got it here. So you have the S is for specific.
Yes.
The M is for measurable. The A is for actionable, something that you can actually attain. The R is for realistic, and the T is for timely.
Yes. So you have to have some type of timeline to get some of these things done.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll say it's kind of a wish, not really a goal.
Exactly.
So we teach the students this, and we talk about these goals, and you can't just say, I want to make better grades. You have to be specific on, what kind of grade are you trying to make? Is this an attainable, goal? Better grades is not a specific goal. You need to, where did you begin and where would you like to be?
Right.
And is this something that you actually can do? So we had the kids do that after the holiday. And I tell you, I'm having conversations still about, like, you made these SMART goals. So what do you think? How are you doing? You got to constantly put it in their face, and then they'll become the kind of people that make goals on a regular basis.
Right. And we similarly, we did the same thing. I think it's something that a lot of educators do after the break. We went back and looked at the fall, and I said, guys, what are some of the things that you struggle with, whether it was in math or reading, that you feel like you've kind of mastered now? And the pride that you hear in oh my God, I didn't know how to divide. I didn't know how to do 3x2 multiplication, and now I can do this. They are excited, about the things that they can do now. And I tell them, these are things that your your next teacher is going to expect you to know. So don't think they're going to teach you this again. They're going to expect you now going into the middle school arena. They're going to expect you to know some of these items as soon as you walk in the door. So make sure you stand up on your skills.
That's so good. I'm glad you encouraged. Now, what grade do you teach now?
Fifth grade.
Fifth
I've got
grade.
a
Yay.
wonderful group of 10 and 11-year-olds that do have their weird moments. We know as educators on some of those full moon weeks, we get great kids that do odd things, but I am totally in love with them. I've seen them do amazing things, and their growth has been, phenomenal this year. I'm very proud of them, just as most of the, every student that I've taught. And over the years, you just think back, like even when I talked about building relationships in this book, to think that I'm getting, Facebook messages from students that I taught 15 years ago, and they're adults now with children. It's just mind blowing.
I know.
To think that they still remember you and you had an effect on their life. It's amazing.
And so I know you say that you only had them for 180 days. That's where I wanted you to go. They remember you. You are a monument in some of these young people's lives, and you don't know it.
Yeah.
I think we all are.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree. And I think being a male also, I'm one of the few male teachers that a lot of these students have had. And that's something they tell me, Mr. Sterling, I had coaches or, someone who worked with me as a tutor, but I never had an actual reading teacher or a STEM teacher that was a male. And I think that's important for all of our children to see, but especially our boys. They can see that there are other ways to be successful in life, and you can still have your character and your morals and not have to do something that's going to make you feel bad about yourself, but feel good about your daily efforts. And I'm thankful every day that I get to teach, along with, a lot of the red tape and meetings and things we have to do. We know that's not the great part, but if I still get the opportunity to close my door and do my thing with those kids and just really see them grow and take off, it's worth doing all the other nonsensical things that we sometimes have to do.
So how important do you think it is for a teacher to be at the same school for a certain amount of time? How long have you been teaching at the school you
this is year number 7 at the school that I'm currently in. Mm-hmm. And at previous school where I was in a different district, I was there for 15 years. Mm-hmm. And I think it's highly essential when you talk about building relationships with families and children. When a parent has a child and a younger sibling now is coming into your classroom, and that parent is asking for you to teach their child, that means everything to a teacher, because they know that you did a great job with my first child, and I want to give you this child because I think you'll be equally effective. Yeah, so it means a lot, you know. Yeah.
It's saying I trust you. Yeah.
Yes.
And yes. I like that. I've had that happen to me too.
Yeah, that's an amazing feeling to know that, we were seeking out this teacher because we like what happened with our other child, and that's exciting for us as educators.
It is. So now for some hard questions. So I asked this of all of my guests, whether they're teachers or not, but I think it just makes us all pause to think about, our role in the world, what we'd like to see, and things like that. So what do you think we need more of in this world today?
Easy question. Love. I have on my board right now, lead with love. We're trying to create leaders that lead with their heart and, know how to have empathy and put themselves in the shoes of other people. One of the things that I try to encourage my students daily is to remind them that they all have a power, and they have a power to love, to heal, to make other people feel good about themselves, and they have a power to hurt. And I constantly remind them of that, that your words can be painful, your actions, the things that you do, the way you exclude people from groups and different things like that we discuss. I remind them of their power, and I tell them you have the ability to make this world a nicer, safer, better place for all of us, or you can attribute to making it harder on everybody.
Mhm.
I like to remind my students that they're a part of a family tree, and you want to be a part of that tree that strengthens the tree as opposed to making it weaker. So I try to teach love. I try to teach emotional and social learning. Again, we want to teach the whole child, mind, body, and soul. And I think that's what they really remember. Not always the lessons and everything you talked about, but if
Mhm.
you made them feel something, that they remember. I felt the way when he taught me about, this part of U.S. history. When we discussed this issue about science or whatever it might have been, they feel those things, and I think they remember those moments and the peers that they were with when they were experiencing those things.
So, if it was one thing you could change about the education system in America, what would it be?
I would try to make sure that we've made every classroom a student-centered classroom. I
Okay.
think a lot of us had experiences where it was about the educator and us having to conform to that style of educator. Where now I think as educators coming out of college, and I was part of this transition, we need to make sure that we are accommodating the child, that we're making those modifications for them, and meeting them where they are.
Mhm.
Because to expect every child to come in, as a fifth grade student, you're supposed to know all of your facts through 12s. But we know that's not going to be the case. So what do we do about it? Well, me and my math team, we give a daily time test. We give them 3 minutes a day to focus on their facts because we know how important it is to all the different things that we're going to learn this year in math and the things you're going to have to know for next year when you go to middle school.
Well, I
So
remember those time tests with my sons. Well, you talk
they
about
are highly
anxiety
they are
for
highly effective, and
you call it an opportunity to spend time thinking about it. They were like, "Oh, I don't have enough time."
I still put the timer on. They still got to have it under a certain time, and we give extra time to those that need it. But again, like now it's January. They've seen themselves grow on how many facts that they can do in a certain amount of time since it was August. And again, that pride in seeing them know those facts and knowing that it's just those daily drops in the bucket that
Mhm.
get us to that point. That's what really is exciting about what we do.
Well, there's some part of education you just have to memorize. I think we got away from that, and
Yeah.
I think there's just some parts, and those multiplication facts is one
Yeah, they need to
of
be automatic.
education.
We can't have you in middle school counting on your fingers and things like that.
Man, we got some. We got some.
Yes, I know,
Right?
but there are some like I said, there are some techniques and things that we're ready to share that can hopefully eliminate that issue.
Okay, well, we're hoping that it comes fast and swift. Um, so what do you think the greatest lesson someone has ever learned from you?
Um, just not quitting. Um,
Okay.
I tell them my story about having a young teenage mom and what she had to go through to get me to become a college student. And I was inspired by her and other people in my family that just, no matter how difficult things became, there was something about not quitting that I think that's the message that I try to get to my students and to keep an even keel. In life, you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, but you don't stay in the highs and you don't stay in the lows. You get back to that level place of understanding that there's going to be a roller coaster ride sometimes, but the older you get, the more skills you attain, the easier that ride becomes as you know how to handle the highs and the lows better. And I hope that they get a level of maturity, from me, and understanding that with discipline and doing the things that we don't always want to do, but understanding that we have to get them done. Those are the things I want children to really keep and learn from me. And I think with those types of skills, whatever comes in life, you'll be prepared, at least to give it a good fight.
Okay. Well, in my final question, what do you think the greatest lesson you've learned from someone else?
Whew, wow. You got me thinking about the veterans now. I was lucky enough to have 25, 30-year veterans when I first came into education, and their lessons still stay with me. And I believe a lot of what I learned from them is what I'm putting in this book. The first chapter is about building relationships. And that's something that they taught me. Like, you can't teach a child if that child doesn't trust you and know that you are truly there for their, growth, and it can be fake because they're going to see right through you.
Absolutely.
Those were the things that those veteran teachers taught me. They taught me to over plan, that, if you give them a minute that you're not on your game, you might lose 30 minutes trying to get them back.
Man, I'm telling you.
So some of those lessons that I got from the veterans, and I just really am grateful. Like, those lessons are still with me today, and I see other people struggling with some of these classroom management issues, or being serious about what they're teaching and really studying before you go in there and put yourself in front of these children.
Mm-hmm.
I've never wanted to look like I wasn't prepared, but I've always been honest with them and told them, if I didn't know something, we're gonna go look it up together. We'll find out. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know everything. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you and tell you, look, I'm not sure about that. Let's go look that up and find that out together. Because some of these students have some amazing questions, and they will stump you and see if you're gonna be honest about what you know what
And
you're
I
talking
feel
about.
like they need to see our human side, because we are not just robots or computers here to
Right.
just spit out facts
Exactly.
all day, every day. But I'm human, and I don't know everything, and that is a part of being human. They don't either.
They get so excited when they see us at the local Target or the Walmart, right? It's like, oh my God, you shop, you eat food,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't live at the school
Yeah,
24 hours a day.
toilet paper, I got that too.
It's like, yes, guys, we are just like you and your parents at home trying to make it through. And I got to tell them
They
we're
look like deers in headlights. Like,
but I tell them all the time, guys, I'm glad that I only have to be good at one thing, and being an educator is my thing. I
yeah,
tell them that we're all geniuses and we're all idiots, because if you put me in a certain medical field or ask me about something in the law, I wouldn't know where to start. But the great thing about teaching elementary is that we're exposing them to all of these subjects. So we're finding out what they truly love. And through, like I tell them, through middle school and high school and college, you're going to specialize in those areas, and you won't have to just, you know, focus on everything, but you're going to have one thing that we're going to ask you to be great at. And that's kind of how I push them forward.
so we have a follower who is really wanting to see your book again and to get the title of your book.
Of course. Just a moment here. It's what today's parent must know about today's classroom.
Okay.
And we're trying to put our parents, we are trying to put our parents up on game so they can ensure that every opportunity for their children to be educated is going to be something positive. The parent is going to let that teacher know that I know the most effective practices. So when it comes to building relationships, movement in the classroom, centers and stations, cooperative learning groups, the use of technology, and the use of interactive notebooking. When those educators hear those parents using that, verbiage,
they're going to be on their toes.
I got to make sure this child is getting the best education because this parent knows what works. And that's how we're going to ensure that all of our children are getting the best from all of the educators that they're going to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, it has been a pleasure talking with you again. And I'm so glad that you made time to share your book and your thoughts, because they're valuable.
So much for having me. Yes, thank you for having me.
I was so excited when I met you, and I'm so glad we had this opportunity to chit chat and to get to know you and your philosophy better. You're in the Houston area, and so that's wonderful, nice and warm and toasty. How toasty it is right now, but
yeah, we're getting a little cool weather, but yes, we just got out of the 75, 80 degrees yesterday. So yeah,
it was warm for us too. But today it got cold. We had a little cold front come in.
Yes, we'll appreciate it while we have it.
But okay, so I will be checking back with you, and probably will ask you to come back on the show.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I know you're going to stay busy. I know you're going to just add to your arsenal, and I'd like to know catch up with you later and see what new things you've developed and things you've
Definitely,
learned.
definitely.
And
Let's
thank
do
you
it.
for being on the show. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Take care.
All right.
Yeah.